Hello, guys. Today I want to talk about illegal drugs. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't want to sound that scary. But I want to indeed talk about the possible benefit of certain illegal drugs in curing mental illness. And by possible effects of certain drugs, I'm being really extra careful with the subject. That's why I'm saying this. So what I mean by certain drugs is definitely not heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, amphetamines, and anything that can get you addicted or destroy your life or has no use whatsoever for yourself and for your life, which is the case with these drugs. But there have been studies that show that certain psychedelics can help with depression and other mental illnesses. For example, LSD can help with curing drug addiction and also alcoholism. And for example, the active substance in magic mushrooms, psilocybin, helps with depression. MDMA, which is the pure substance of what do you call it? Pills. Ecstasy. It's a pure substance of ecstasy, can help you with, for example, anxiety. I have my own share of experience with this, and I'm going to start by saying that this is not something you should just do without thinking twice about it. Drugs are dangerous, especially if you have certain types of mental illnesses. If you have the type of mental illness that inhibits your impulse control and gives you a certain type of inability to deal with delayed gratification, drugs are very dangerous. What is delayed gratification? It's something that you learn in childhood and certain people never develop. I, for example, have had to develop it through therapy. It's, for example, when you're a kid and you want a bag of chips and you want it all, and your mother is telling you, but you can't eat it all, and you just want to eat the whole fucking thing, and you throw yourself on the floor, and you scream and you yell and you punch because you want the whole bag of chips. That's what happens to people when they try, for example, cocaine, and they cannot get enough of that. There's two types of people who try drugs, and I know because I know. There's the people who try, for example, once one line of cocaine or once one pill of ecstasy. And they're like, okay, I can do this once. It's okay. It's not no problem. I do this from time to time, etc., etc. And then there's those people at the party who do not leave until there's no more drugs and no more alcohol. I'm not like that anymore. I've been through a lot of therapy, but I used to be like that. These are people who have troubles with compulsion. And if you have a trouble with compulsion, of course, working with any type of drugs is risky, is something that you should handle it with care, and it's actually something that you should not do alone. Why is this interesting? Because it works. If it's handled with care, it does work. For example, there's therapists in Switzerland who do therapies with MDMA, the active substance, the base substance of pills, of ecstasy, and they do therapy with LSD. What do they find? They find that with the MDMA, for example, people are more quick to express their emotions. They have this sense of... MDMA is a drug of love. is a drug that appeared in the 60s, 70s. Everyone was taking it at parties. All the hippies were taking it because they were bonding with everyone. That's why they had sex with everyone. And that's also why AIDS spread so fast, by the way, in the 80s, actually, after. Let's not have AIDS. Let's not have sex with everyone. I'm just disclaiming here. Because yes, I do have a lot of experience with drugs over the years, and I see my own progression over the years from when I was 20 and binging on drugs and binging on alcohol and what have you, from now when I'm 30 and I can see things from afar and I can analyze things. I don't know anything, but I do read a lot of studies. I do look at videos. I have done my own little experiments, although I cannot do a lot because I'm still medicated from my last mental breakdown. I did have a really strong mental breakdown that makes me really fragile to anything that happens in my brain chemistry, so I cannot go so far. What I know is that I have had experiences that in small dosages, certain drugs, namely psychedelics, can help with mental health. Continuing with that story from Switzerland, so they do the MDMA theory for people who are bad at expressing their emotions. This makes a lot of sense to me. I'm bisexual and I discovered it because of ecstasy, because of MDMA, because girls were coming to me when I was high and I would feel things that I thought I wasn't supposed to feel, and in the end it just came out. I'm not saying it's just because of that drug, but it just came out. They do also therapies with LSD, but they do it with group therapy. Why? Because LSD is a drug that makes you feel connected to every human species on the planet and every person. This makes a lot of sense if you're depressed, because if you're depressed, you're gonna feel like the world is shit, everyone else is shit, because of this fucking capitalist society who's telling you that you're forever alone, that you have to buy stuff, you have to have a great job, you have to have a great girlfriend or boyfriend, otherwise you're shit, you cannot compete. And LSD makes you think and see that everything is connected. We're all connected to each other. We're all kind of the same thing. That's why they use it for group therapy. Some people also use the active compound of mushrooms, psilocybin, to treat depression. There's other things that are used out there and that are surprisingly useful in the treatment of mental illnesses. Why are they illegal? Because they're misused, because they're abused, and also because they don't make money. Because if you are on antidepressants, then you're on antidepressants for years. But if you take 2 or 3 trips of LSD and you're good, then who's gonna make money from it? Not the pharmaceuticals, they're not. So money is a big factor in here. But again, I don't want you to see me as this person who just like goes and says, yeah, let's all binge on drugs and it's gonna be awesome. I've had my experiences where I thought and I think and I'm convinced that some drugs can be useful. There was once this experience with MDMA where I just felt this sense of calm. I was in a period of great anxiety, and I had a small, and this, again, it's all about dosages. I had a really small dose of MDMA, and I just had this sense of calm. It's like something recalibrated in my brain, and it lasted for days and days and days. And also, I took some LSD 3 years ago, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. It just made a lot of sense to me. A lot of things just made a lot of sense to me in my life thanks to that experience. And it was a period, for example, where I was tired of living in the city. I was tired of the pollution. I was really, really dealing badly with that. And I was looking out the window and I was seeing cars, and they were going through a crossroad, and it was as if it was veins from a human being. And so the cars were just, blood from the city, and it just made me believe and think that it all made a whole lot of fucking sense at that time. How should you do it if you want to do it? Especially if you have mental illness, and especially if you have the kind of mental illness who gives you lack of impulse control. Normally, I'm talking about the personality disorders. I have histrionic traits, and I have borderline traits. So that's why, for example, I don't have any. I had to work a lot on this, but still, I cannot have a chocolate bar at home. I will eat the whole fucking chocolate bar. I cannot have a bag of chips at home. I will be like those kids who bang and scream. If I have a bag of chips and I'm eating it, I will have to throw it away before I eat the whole fucking thing. When it comes to drugs, I'm much more controlled when it comes to alcohol, because this was years and years and years of therapies and experiences and everything. But still, I cannot be alone if I try to do something like this, and I have to have someone with me, someone who is watching me, and someone who is dosing. That's really important. So, for example, if you're doing MDMA, I think you have to see online. I'm not going to put any links on here because there's so many videos, so many studies, so many articles of the therapeutical effects of psychedelics. But in the case of MDMA, I think it's like 125 milligrams, but it has to do with your body weight. So if I weight 53, so if you weight 70 or 80, it's not going to be the same thing. And then you have to have someone dosing it for you, especially in the case of MDMA, because it is kind of an amphetamine, so you will have the compulsion to do more. In the case of LSD, you will also have to have someone dosing it with you, actually, because you can have this experience at first or this impression that this is not working, I have to do more. This is false. You have to wait. You always have to wait. Someone with you, someone watching out for you. Small doses, very small doses. That's the key. And that's the difference between people who are in a club, ODing, binging, sweating, partying, with big eyes and whatnot, and people who are doing this with precaution and with care and with dosing, actually with benefits. Also, I don't know how it is wherever it is that you live, but in Belgium and Brussels, there's labs where you can test these things. You can go and test and see exactly which substance it is that you're taking. Because actually that's the biggest risk when we're talking about these substances, that actually you're not taking anything that you thought you took, you're taking something completely different. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying for sure illegal drugs can help with you with your mental illness. But I'm saying that maybe they can. And we cannot put this aside. And the more experience I have, the more I can see that there's things that happen that I cannot explain. If I try these drugs, which nowadays in my life is a very punctual experience, if I try these drugs that I cannot explain, and the only explanation is maybe this can help with mental illness. I hope this helps. I hope this comes across in a clear way. I feel like I'm being very apologetic, and also I shouldn't, but it's just that I'm sure that whoever's seeing this video, if you never did drugs, if you don't know what it is, you're going to think, oh my god, what are you talking about? This is a disgrace, this is a scandal. And also, for example, my therapist she is young and should be open-minded, but whenever I talk about this, she totally freaks out. So I know that some people totally freak out when I talk about these drugs. What I'm saying is, we shouldn't put it aside. We should see what happens. Maybe they should, like, more money should be put into this, so people should have a better knowledge of whatever it is it can do. Don't put it completely aside if you think that it could be good for you. Okay, I wish you happy healings.